I came home early from Bible study. My husband was in our bedroom with my son-in-law. I heard them through the door, and what I heard made my hands shake so hard I dropped my church purse. My keys, my reading glasses, my peppermints, all scattered across the hallway floor like pieces of my life breaking apart. I'm Evelyn Marie. I'm 62 years old. I've been married 38 years. And before I tell you what I found, I want to ask you something. Has someone you trusted completely ever turned out to be a total stranger? Comment yes below and tell me where you're watching from. And if you want to hear exactly how I handled it, stay till the end and subscribe, because what I did next, they never saw coming. That morning started like any other Thursday. I made my husband Raymond's coffee the way he likes it, kissed his forehead while he was still sleeping, same as I'd done for 38 years. My Honda sat quiet in the driveway when I left for Bible study at 2. Raymond's truck was there too. He'd said he was going fishing with his buddy. I thought it was nice he was resting. We were studying the book of Ruth that Thursday. Whither thou goest, I will go. All those promises of loyalty. I sat there eating lemon pound cake, discussing faithfulness, while my own husband was at home proving exactly how little those words meant to him. Bible study ended early, around 3:15. I pulled into my driveway and noticed my son-in-law Brandon's gray truck parked down the street, tucked just out of sight from our front window. I didn't think much of it. Brandon was always stopping by to ask Raymond for advice. Pops always knows what to do, he'd say with that charming smile that won my daughter over 8 years ago. The front door was locked from the inside. Raymond never locked it during the day. I let myself in through the kitchen instead. The house smelled like his cologne, stronger than usual, like he'd just put it on. Music was playing upstairs, Luther Vandross, Here and Now, our song. Then I heard laughter. Not the kind you give when something's funny. The kind that's intimate, private. The kind that shouldn't be happening in my bedroom on a Thursday afternoon. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, hand on the banister Raymond had refinished just last spring for me, and my feet wouldn't move. Then I heard his voice, low and soft. Nobody's home till 4. We got time. And Brandon's response, You sure? I don't want Evelyn finding out like this. Finding out like what? That's when I dropped my purse. I stood in that hallway for exactly 7 minutes. I watched the grandfather clock my mama gave us tick away every second, 420 of them, while everything I thought I knew crumbled into dust. And in those 7 minutes, I made a decision that would change everything. I didn't storm up those stairs. I didn't scream. I picked up my purse, walked to the kitchen, and made myself a cup of coffee. Because that's what I do. I plan. I survive. My mama used to say, Baby girl, they can take your dignity, but only if you give it to them. You're a Johnson. And we Johnson women don't give nothing away. I was born in New Orleans in 1962. My daddy worked the docks. My mama cleaned houses for white families in the Garden District, beautiful homes she could tend but never own. I was 6 when Dr. King was killed. In 1968, my parents integrated me into an all-white elementary school, one of 5 black children in a school of 400. My mama walked me there every single day, head held high, whispering, You remember who you are, Evelyn Marie. I graduated top of my class, got a scholarship to Spelman, met Raymond Parker at a church picnic in my senior year. He was 23, just back from 2 tours in Vietnam, carrying a sadness in his eyes I couldn't look away from. 6 months later, he proposed on my parents' porch with a ring that cost him every penny he'd saved, $147, 20 a week for 2 months. I said yes. We married in June of 1985. I dropped out of Spelman 3 months before graduation because Raymond's PTSD was bad and somebody needed to work. I waited tables, then worked hospital overnight shifts, sleeping 3 hours a night for 2 years until he stabilized. It took me 6 more years of night classes to finally finish my degree. In 1993, at 31, I became a third grade teacher, a job I held for 37 years, buying school supplies out of my own pocket for babies who needed more than the system gave them. Our daughter Nicole was born in 1990 after 3 miscarriages that nearly broke me. Raymond was a good father, coached her softball, paid for her college so she wouldn't drown in debt. She graduated with honors, got a good job, and in 2014 brought home a man named Brandon Cole. Handsome, respectful, called me ma'am, washed dishes without being asked. Ms. Evelyn, he told me that first night, I'm going to treat her right. I promise you that. God help me, I believed every word. They married in 2016. Raymond walked her down the aisle and told Brandon, loud enough for the front rows to hear, "You take care of my baby, you hear me?" Brandon hugged him and called him Pops from that day on. Raymond beamed every time. "Finally got the son I always wanted," he'd say. For years, everything seemed perfect. Then, about 2 years ago, the cracks started. Nicole stopped coming to Sunday dinner as often. When she did come, she was distant, checking her phone constantly. Raymond started going to the gym at 63, dyeing his hair, buying tighter clothes, wearing cologne differently. He put a passcode on his phone for the first time in our marriage. Too many scam calls, he said. He started going out more. Fishing trips, veterans meetings, coffee with old Army friends. And Brandon started stopping by the house on weekday afternoons when I wasn't home. For advice, Raymond said, "Boy needs a father figure, doesn't have anybody else to talk to." 3 months ago, I noticed $500 cash withdrawals from our checking account week after week. "Stuff for the house?" Raymond said, barely looking up from his paper. I let it go. We had the money. What was $500 here and there after 38 years? Last month, I found a box in the back of his closet, a gift box from Macy's. Inside, a nice watch, price tag still on. A card. "To my Raymond, you make me feel alive again." B. My heart dropped. I confronted him. He laughed it off. "That's from Brandon, for my birthday. Too expensive. I've been meaning to return it." Brandon, of course. B for Brandon. I felt foolish for even wondering otherwise. But standing in my kitchen that Thursday, listening to sounds I couldn't misinterpret anymore, that watch took on a whole different meaning. "You make me feel alive again." That's not what you write to your father-in-law. That's what you write to someone you love. I sat at that kitchen table and forced myself to look at everything I'd been avoiding for months. The cash withdrawals, the locked phone, the gym, the hair dye, the sudden closeness with Brandon, Nicole's distance, her stress, a phone call 3 months back asking to borrow $3,000 for car repairs when Brandon drove a company truck. Unless the money wasn't for a car, unless Nicole was helping fund something, unless she already knew. I stood up, my legs nearly giving out. 38 years of marriage, 38 years of standing by this man through war, nightmares, unemployment, health scares, and this is what I got. I picked up my phone and searched. Best divorce lawyer Atlanta. I bookmarked the first result. Catherine Brooks and Associates, specializing in high conflict divorce and asset protection. Then I went upstairs, quietly, and photographed the watch, the card, the bank statements in Raymond's nightstand, his phone bill. I opened his laptop, password still my own birthday after all these years, and downloaded everything I could find. I heard footsteps and slipped out just in time. From the pantry, cracked door, I watched Brandon come down, grab his jacket, and leave. 5 minutes later, Raymond came down whistling, like he didn't have a care in the world, and made himself a sandwich in my kitchen with my dishes. Not anymore, I thought. Not my kitchen, not my house, not my husband, not after this. I slipped out the front door and walked back in loud. "Raymond, I'm home!" I unpacked groceries like nothing had happened, but that woman who'd left for Bible study 3 hours earlier, she was gone. and the woman who replaced her was done playing nice. That night, once Raymond was asleep, I went downstairs and opened my laptop properly. Our joint checking account, 6 months of transactions, $16,000 in cash withdrawals I couldn't explain. Credit card charges, dinner at a steakhouse the night he said he was at a veterans meeting, flowers I never received, a Ritz-Carlton charge for $342. Then I checked our credit reports, something I'd never once done in 38 years of marriage, and there it was. A joint checking account opened 8 months earlier, co-owner Brandon M. Cole, $23,000 in it. My pension money sitting in an account with my daughter's husband. I pulled his phone records. 47 calls to Brandon in the past 3 months. Over 300 text messages in the last month alone. My husband texted our son-in-law more than he texted anyone in his life, including me. At 5:30 in the morning, my phone rang. My best friend of 40 years, Diane. She needed to tell me something in person right away. 20 minutes later, she sat at my kitchen table, twisting her wedding ring, and told me she'd seen Raymond and Brandon 2 weeks earlier at a Waffle House, holding hands across a table, looking at each other in a way that wasn't father and son. She'd seen him kiss Brandon's hand. I wasn't shocked. I was relieved. Now I had a witness. Now I knew I wasn't losing my mind. "What are you gonna do?" Diane asked. I thought about confronting him, screaming, demanding he choose. I thought about telling Nicole and shattering her world the way mine had shattered. I thought about running to my sisters in Memphis. Instead, I chose what I'd been trained to do my whole life. Be strategic, be smart, build my case. "I'm gonna call a lawyer," I said. And I told her about the $485,000 sitting quietly in an inheritance account Raymond didn't know the true size of. My sister Eleanor had died 6 years earlier and left me everything, $340,000. Raymond himself had told me to keep it separate, in my name only, for tax purposes. 6 years of compound growth later, it had become $485,000, entirely mine under Georgia law, untouched by our marriage. The irony was delicious. I met Catherine Brooks the next day. Sharp, elegant, 20 years of practice, eyes that missed nothing. I laid out everything: the bank statements, the hotel charges, the joint account, the phone records, the photos of the watch and card. "Mrs. Parker," she said, "this is one of the most well-documented infidelity cases I've seen in 20 years. Then she asked about my assets, and when I told her about the inheritance, she smiled. "That $485,000 is your separate property. He gets nothing from it. None." I told Nicole to come over the next day without Brandon. When she arrived, she asked if I thought her father had been acting strange, distant, too close to Brandon. She already suspected. I told her everything. She screamed at me first, in denial, then broke down completely when Raymond and Brandon both walked in, and she asked her father directly, "Are you sleeping with my husband?" Silence answered her. "How long?" she demanded. 18 months, Raymond admitted. Nicole turned to Brandon. "Did you ever love me, or was I just a way to get close to him?" "I love him, Nicole," Brandon said. "I didn't mean to, but I do." I told them both to get out of my house, and they left. I filed for divorce that Thursday. Catherine had papers served within 24 hours. Raymond found out mid-coffee with his buddies at his usual Friday spot. He called me 17 times. I let everyone go to voicemail. Then my private investigator, a former detective named Marcus, called with something bigger. Brandon Cole wasn't his real name. Born Brandon Michaels, he'd served 3 years in an Illinois prison for embezzling $180,000 from a former employer. Legally changed his name in 2012, moved to Georgia, told everyone his parents were dead. His mother was very much alive in Chicago. She'd cut him off after the theft. And there was more. Raymond and Brandon had already applied for a $180,000 small business loan. the exact amount Brandon had once stolen, planning to use Raymond's share of our house sale as the down payment. They'd filed the application before the divorce papers were even served. This wasn't a moment of weakness, it was a plan. I froze every joint asset within 48 hours through an emergency court motion. I told Nicole everything about Brandon's real identity. She sobbed in my kitchen. I'm a CPA, Mama. I do background checks for a living. How did I not catch this? And then she filed for her own divorce, plus a fraud complaint. It turned out Brandon had also violated his Illinois parole by leaving the state without permission. There was already a warrant. At the settlement conference with my lawyer, Nicole beside me, and both men across the table, I laid out the terms myself. I keep the house, bought out with my own inheritance. He repays half the money he funneled into that secret account. Retirement accounts split fairly. No spousal support, nothing more. Raymond's lawyer tried to call it extremely aggressive. Catherine told him plainly, "Your client committed adultery and stole marital assets. This is generous." Then Raymond saw my Vanguard statement for the first time. $485,000. His face went white. "You have $500,000? You never told me?" "You told me to keep it separate," I said. "I did, and that's exactly why it's mine." I stood up in that room and told him plainly. I dropped out of college for him. I worked 2 jobs while he recovered from war. I stayed through unemployment, through drinking, through a stroke. I gave him 38 years, and he repaid me by sleeping with my daughter's husband and planning to sell our house out from under me. "You picked the wrong woman to underestimate," I told him. He signed the papers a week later, hands shaking. He moved to Tennessee to live with his brother, working part-time at an auto parts store. Brandon Michaels, went back to Illinois to serve his parole violation. Nicole's marriage was declared legally void due to his fraud. She got her maiden name back. 6 months later, I'm sitting on my porch swing on a crisp fall Sunday morning, coffee in hand, my roses blooming one last time before winter. The house is entirely mine now. I changed the locks the day the divorce was final, painted the bedroom lavender, a color Raymond always hated, turned his old man cave into a reading room. My inheritance, still invested, is now worth over $500,000. I'm not rich, but I am secure. Secure in a way no one can ever take from me again. Nicole and I are rebuilding slowly. She comes for Sunday dinner now. She's in therapy. So am I. Last month she told me she's dating someone new, a woman this time, an attorney. "I think I'm done with men for a while, Mama," she said. I just laughed and told her to bring her to dinner when she's ready. I went back to my maiden name, Evelyn Johnson. It felt right. I volunteer at my old elementary school now, tutoring kids who are struggling. I joined a book club with other retired teachers. I'm terrible at painting, and I don't care. It's mine. 3 weeks ago, sitting on this same porch, I realized something. I was happy, not in spite of everything, but because I chose myself. Because I fought. Because I refused to disappear. If you've made it this far, thank you. This isn't a fairy tale, but maybe somebody needed to hear it. If someone in your life is trying to make you feel small, trying to convince you that you're the problem, trying to put you somewhere you don't belong, you are not too old to start over, and you are not obligated to sacrifice yourself for people who won't sacrifice for you. They tried to write my ending for me. Instead, I took the pen right out of their hands. So tell me, if you found what I found, would you have confronted them right then and there, or built your case quietly the way I did? Comment, confront, or document below, and tell me where you're watching from. If this story meant something to you, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.